The leaks for chapter 352 are no joke. In this video, we actually see a brand new Generation 11 player, and he is absolutely wild. But I know you guys don't like being spoiled, so you will have to wait to know more. However, trust me, the ending after that is just insane. But so as not to waste any time, let's get right into it. Alright, so the chapter starts off with the text saying, "The conflict between Ego and Buratsuta reaches its peak. What will be the fate of Blue Lock Japan and Side B?" With that, we jump straight into it with seeing a super mad and furious Buratsuta as he screams with all that he can, even making his face veins pop out. The text says that the fallout from Japan's defeat against France was immediate and explosive. In the president's office, Buratsuta screamed at the monitor, his face red with pure fury, which is kind of funny that they specified that it was red since manga is always black and white. Moving on, we can see that Buratsuta seems to be talking to someone. While of course still being super mad, he tells the guy that if they lose to Saudi Arabia, it's over. Now, obviously it's England, but I'm just so curious how you could get it to Saudi Arabia when they aren't even in the group. Just to clarify, I'm not the one who writes these text summaries and I have no idea who does. But yeah, anyway. Buratsuta asked the person if they understood, and we then saw that it was the goat Ego, which Buratsuta was going off towards. Ego continues to stay completely silent for a while as he aura farms, and that makes Buratsuta continue with his speech. He asks Ego if he realizes the massive budget that they have poured into the secret Side B project. Behind the screens, he goes even further as he starts to threaten Ego by telling him that if Japan fails to reach the final tournament, then everything will turn to dust. But come on, there's no way that the Blue Lock boys aren't making it. We then finally see that Ego gets some breathing room and seems to be allowed to speak. He is still unfazed as he starts to adjust his glasses as he tells Buratsuta, a money-grubbing tanuki, to be silent, which is pretty fair enough. Personally, I usually call him a gremlin because he kind of looks like one. Ego tells him that sitting at 1 win and 1 loss was entirely within his expectations, given Japan's actual strength relative to the world champions, which is also a super fair point, like they met the favorites of the whole tournament. Sadly, we then move to the gremlin, who can't keep his mouth shut and accuses Ego of abandoning his contract for a selfish gamble. But Ego doesn't really see eye to eye with that statement, as he starts to smirk and tells Buratsuta that there was no flaw in his plan, but instead, that this is a gamble that he started. It did seem like they were talking about a ton more interesting stuff, but that seems to be kept in secret for now, as we instead head over to the Blue Lock facility, and more specifically towards the survivors of Side B's first stage birdcage, who have been gathered in the waiting area. Here we firstly see Kira and Shindu. Kira thanks Shindu for nominating him. He starts to really big him up then, as he praises his high tactical awareness as the best choice for increasing their chances of winning. Now I'm not sure whether Shindu just ignores Kira or not, because that would be super rude. However, we don't see any response to what Kira said. Instead, we see Shindu approaching Nagi happily. He really just left Kira to go to Nagi. But anyway, Shindu continues, and he starts to praise his potential and try to give him the nickname Danger Man, which might be one of the worst nicknames that I have ever heard coming out from this series. Shindu really lost a lot of credibility here, and it looks like Nagi somewhat agrees, as he really looks fed up and pretty exhausted as he straight up either calls Shindu or just tells him, but he tells him, verbalizing bro, and for him to be silent. But now come on guys, we all know Nagi, and we both know that he isn't going to just stop right there, as he then tells Shindu that he hates that way of talking, the way that he acts like he understands everything, but it seems like he said it a bit quietly, so it doesn't become any more of it, as Shindu just laughed it off, then with a smile suggesting that a muddy and unrefined style might suit Nagi better. We then head a bit forward as we see the monitor, which starts to come on, and it starts to announce all 6 players that cleared Team 1's trial. Here we see that it was Shindu, Kira, Mizuki, Nagi, someone called Honda Mizu, and guys, the GOAT Nishioka, and guys, this is what I'm saying. Nishioka is making it out of Side B and into the main Blue Lock team. He, alongside Nagi, is making it. Now obviously some of you might think that I'm joking, but I'm going to stay true to this to the very end, as I would like to do anything in this world to get Nishioka into the series and get him to be one of the main players. I just hope that the author loves him just as much as I do, but please let me know in the comments if I have any Nishioka lovers with me. Now back to the story as we see all of them celebrating that they all cleared it. Not long after, we see Nagi, who turns to Kira and calls him Mr. Sparkles, which isn't that good, but way better than Danger Man. Anyway, Nagi then asks him for a band-aid for his bloody nose, which is fair. Then, with that, as they now have their survival secured, the 6 players turn their sights forward, stepping through the doors toward the second stage, and they all look extremely pumped up. But more of that will have to wait as we then head over to the main Japan training field. Here we see that the regular squad was pushing through a really intense and wild practice session. After some time of intense training, we can see that a break was called, and with that, all of the players start to head and grab their water bottles. But even then, the heavy atmosphere of Ego's earlier bombshell is still lingering. Karasu is then the first to break the silence as he speaks up, or he starts to wipe his sweat first. But he then asks the others what they honestly thought about Ego's talk earlier. We see a bunch of them answering, and most of them explained that Ego's unhinged speech was crazy and full of contradictions. But despite the madness of his philosophy, one undeniable crushing truth hung heavily over them, which was, of course, that they still hadn't beaten France. We then continue with the players as, while they are sitting and chilling on the pitch, Hiyori starts to talk, saying that a team where everyone aimed to be the world's best striker was inherently nonsensical, which, I mean, is true, but that's also what made the whole story so insanely captivating. We then move back where we see Karasu agreeing with him, explaining that while the team was contradictory from the start, they had miraculously grown stronger up until now. But like I said earlier, there was that crushing reality that even with all of that in mind, they still weren't able to beat the champions, France. This led to Karasu cooking up something, and he started to suggest that this defeat was the perfect time to stop and look back at their origins. With that, the team realized that they might have placed too much blind faith in Ego, acknowledging that he was ultimately a psycho-crazy glasses guy, which they aren't wrong about. With all or most of them at least sharing that mindset, they decided that it was better to view Ego as a dangerous man, teaching them dangerous things, prompting them to re-examine what kind of world's best they truly dreamed of. Now here I do think that they are kind of cooking. As long as they are all aiming for their ideal vision of the world's best, then I think that they will be safe. But then, out of nowhere, the craziest thing happens, as, while they are thinking, all of it gets interrupted by an unfamiliar voice that politely asks Blue Lock for a favor. They look back, and they see a foreign player who approached them. By the way, just to clarify, I will use a picture of Chris Prince while talking about him, as the panels aren't out yet, and Blue Lock has been super strict with that lately. Anyway, the player introduces himself as their next opponent, a scrub player from England who is named Teddy Knight, which actually sounds so cool. The name Teddy actually goes crazy. After that, Teddy made an absurd deadpan request. He asked them if they could please lose the next match for him. With that, we see that all of them become super stunned and confused by his audacity. Karasu then right away rejected the plea, telling him that it was an impossible request. This, however, made Teddy sigh. He explained to them that he had a lot riding on this match too. With that, the atmosphere shifted as Teddy moved with terrifying speed and effortlessly dropped Karasu to the ground. He then stared at them coldly, stating that if he proved that they couldn't win right now, they would simply give up and lose. Before anyone could react, Teddy then exploded into an unstoppable dribble. This made Isagi watch in pure shock as Teddy blew past Ryu with incredible speed and skill. He was super amazed that he was a dribbler and was awestruck by what he assumed was a massive display of ego. However, Teddy leaped into the air with the ball and firmly denied having an ego at all. He told them that it was because he was a doll. We then learned that he is the new Gen World 11 England winger, and I'm guessing that his nickname is Trash Doll. Now, real talk, as I'm just completely speechless, in my last video talking about this chapter, I did say that I thought that Trash Doll and this chapter would be the chapter where we hopefully saw one of the England players, but it was way better than what I could have ever guessed. Now, if I'm totally honest, then Teddy is giving me massive Nagi vibes, that laid-back approach, and maybe just being extremely talented, but he might have already found his ego, which I know that he stated that he hadn't. But I mean that he might be a version of Nagi who tried, which I very well also know that Nagi is doing now, and that's why it's so cool. Anyway, this chapter was completely insane, but I need the right translations as I can't wait, but please let me know what you thought about today's chapter. Anyway, if you like Blue Lock and videos like this, then I would highly suggest you subscribe to this channel, and while you are at it, leave a comment and a like. Also, if you can, hype the video down below, as it helps out with the algorithm a ton. And if you are curious to see another video of mine, then please watch the video that will be popping up on the screen now. Anyway, thanks for watching and have a great day. Bye.